I'm still disturbed about it, the secret letter that our president sent to the head of the Iranian government, the supreme leader. The supreme leader. He betrayed our allies in the region. He showed treachery to our allies from Israel all the way to Saudi Arabia. But above all, the folly of asking Iranian Shia to go in and combat the Sunni militants. Sean, that would be like sending the Ku Klux Klan to Ferguson, Missouri to calm things down.
Colonel Ralph Peters on with Hannity last night. Intense new criticism of the secret letter to Iran's supreme leader asking for help on ISIS. Well, John Bolton's the former U.S. ambassador to the UN, Fox News contributor. Sir, good to see you 2 days in a row. Good morning down there in Washington. Listen, the headline of the day is that there's no major headway. And you've got a clock that's running right now that's going to expire in 2 weeks. Is this going to get done?
Well, I think it may yet get done. I don't think you should underestimate the desire of the Obama White House to cut a deal with the Ayatollahs, any deal they can, so they can declare victory. And remember, the basic agreement that they're working under here provided that the deal struck in January of this year, lasting for 6 months, could be extended for another 6 months. They only extended it for 4 months. They've got 2 months to go, even under that agreement. And frankly, if they don't get agreement by the end of January, they'll just extend it again.
You think they will?
Yep.
But you just said they would get a deal. What would a deal look like?
Well, I think the Iranians have a very strong sense that they can get more concessions out of the Obama administration. They've already made the most significant concession years ago by agreeing Iran could continue uranium enrichment. I think the letter to the supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, is further evidence from Iran's point of view that Obama is desperate to have a deal here. So the Iranians are under no sense of urgency. They see the concessions coming in their direction. They want to harvest as many as they can.
Well, you get a deal. You might get a bad deal, too, and you got to be careful of that. But, I mean,
right. It will be a bad deal.
One of these lawmakers said it messes up everything. They cleaned up the language a little bit over the weekend. And listen, sanctions were working, and the sanctions were lifted. Do you see this administration going back on those sanctions and tightening them again?
No, and I don't think actually you can say that the sanctions were working. I think they were harming Iran's economy. But remember, the Director of National Intelligence, General Clapper, testified earlier this year that the sanctions had not had an effect on the nuclear program, and that's obviously what we're worried about here.
You write, at this point, we can only hope that Tehran saves us from ourselves by overreaching, as they have so often before. You expect that. In what way?
Well, I think the Obama administration will give away almost anything to get a deal unless the Iranians ask for something like a non-aggression pact, and maybe we've given that away already as well. That is the one thing that will stop what I think is quite simply an act of appeasement on the part of the Obama administration, giving legitimacy not only to the nuclear weapons program, but giving legitimacy to the regime in Tehran itself, a terrorist regime that oppresses its own people, that has been the world's central banker for terrorism for 35 years. It's just appalling.
Vladimir Putin and President Obama spoke today. Apparently 3 different topics over the period of, say, some 20 minutes in Beijing, China. Iran apparently came up, along with Syria and Ukraine. What is your expectation from a conversation or two there?
Well, I think Putin believes fundamentally that Iran's nuclear weapons program is our problem. Now, he should be more worried about it, but the Russians for many years have felt they could hold sway over Iran. He doesn't think that Iran's nuclear capabilities threaten Russia. So he's not going to take Obama off the hook on this one. I think he's going to allow it to play out and see how much Obama is prepared to give away, because it feeds into the international perception that Obama is a weak president, and that helps Putin.
Well, final question. Do you expect anything to come from this trip?
I think there have been some advances on the trade front. I think that's always important. But I think the president's timing, unfortunately, couldn't have been worse given the midterm elections.
Worse? I mean, they set this stuff up months, if not years, in advance. I mean, you can't change the timing.
A little too much confidence on his part as to how the elections would turn out. No, I think it shows the president lacks support at home, makes it very difficult to project strength abroad, which is what he'd like to try and do.
We found the Chinese media is already critical upon his arrival. Ambassador John Bolton, thank you. We'll see you in New York real soon. Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
Bill, thank you.